welcome to the show. I've missed you. So what's been going on? Google's employees have made a stand against sexual harassment.
Google staff around the world are staging coordinated walkouts in protest against the way women at the company have been treated.
One of the major issues is how sexual misconduct allegations are dealt with.
I am fed up!
I'm not surprised she's fed up, because this doesn't just happen at Google. This is an epidemic. More than half of women have suffered sexual harassment in the workplace. It must be exhausting, and it has to stop. So for any men who haven't got the memo, here it is. Don't grab women. Don't honk at women. Don't whistle at women. Don't take photos of women. Upskirting. If you're so desperate to see a picture of a twat, take a selfie. And if you're a bloke working in tech and you don't know how to behave around women, fucking Google it! Now, talking of harassment, Trump's been in the news. It's been the midterm election, so what did he do? He turned 5,000 Central American migrants into public enemy #1.
A migrant caravan heading from Central America to the U.S. border right now.
More than 5,000 people are in the caravan.
That's called an invasion of our country.
The migrants say they're fleeing violence and poverty.
We will keep the criminal drug dealers, predators and terrorists the hell out of our country.
What's he going to do, deport himself? I don't want sexual predators in America. That's my job. He's calling it an invasion. Let's have a look at this terrifying group of invaders. I mean, that's not an invasion. That's a Fisher-Price buggy. If Trump's afraid of foreigners and their children, he must lose his shit when he sees his wife and kid. Like... But then we all know Trump likes to overreact. I mean, look at this.
He wants U.S. troops to fire their guns on any migrant who even throws a rock at them.
If they throw a rock, the army will shoot them. Did you see the unbelievable reason why? Trump said anybody throwing stones or rocks, we will consider that a firearm because there's not much difference. Yes, there is! No one's ever been mugged at Pebble Point. Give me all your money or I'll gravel you. Kids go brap, brap, they don't go crazy paving. Never seen a drive-by shingling. Can it get more ludicrous? Yes, it can. Look where Trump claims these invaders have come from.
And in that caravan, you have some very bad people. You're going to find MS-13, you're going to find Middle Eastern.
You're going to find what?
You're going to find Middle Eastern.
They've come from the Middle East? So let me get this straight. They've gone from the Middle East through Egypt, Libya, Algeria, Mauritania, Western Sahara, and then they've swam or rowed across the Atlantic and then walked across Brazil, Guyana, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Nicaragua, Honduras, Mexico, all the way to the border. Now, if some of those people have done all that whilst dragging a Fisher-Price buggy, don't turn them away. Sign them up to the Olympics. They're not invaders, they're triathletes. That is phenomenal stamina. I have a rest when I carry the shopping home. My brother gets out of breath when he takes a shit. I imagine. I haven't seen it. He's told me. Mind you, we shouldn't be surprised by Trump's stupidity. He gets his information from Fox News.
And they're coming in with diseases such as smallpox and leprosy and TB that are going to affect our people in the United States.
A, smallpox was eradicated in 1980, and B, people with leprosy don't tend to march on account of having leprosy. By the time they get to the border, there'd just be a pair of eyebrows. He's not the only one. Listen to what this lady's worried about.
We simply cannot have people about whom we know nothing living next door to us, working next to us, or driving next to us.
What? knows who's driving next to them? When I'm on the motorway, I'm not like, hey, what's your name? What's your favourite colour? Do you like astrology? What? Fuck off. Typical Capricorn. There's more. Look what else she's concerned about.
I want to know who is a pedophile, who is a sex offender, who thinks they're entitled to beat their wives.
I know this. Savile, Weinstein, Chris Brown. Yes. Weirdest quiz ever. Let's be honest, this is all fear-mongering bullshit. Obviously, not everyone in the caravan is perfect. Some of them may well be criminals. But crucially, if they are, they won't be allowed in. There's a border. They're not going to burst through like zombies. America shouldn't be scared of them. They should be scared of Trump. I mean, this is a man who is outwitted by an umbrella. Here's a new rule. You can't close the border until you can close an umbrella. Mind you, it's not just Trump making headlines. Someone else made a surprising announcement this week.
Here was the Labour leader at the Pride of Britain Awards last night, flossing. Yes, flossing.
I can't do it.
People lost it. He can't do the floss. What a loser! Who cares? When did dancing become an important trait in leaders? Churchill said, we'll fight them on the beaches. He wasn't on the white cliffs of Dover slut-dropping. Hitler! No! You don't think you're ready? Oh! It's ready! My body is too delicious!
Ollie Murs can do the floor tapping. He should be in charge.
No! I don't want Ollie Murs in charge of the country. He can't tell the difference between a terror attack and a balloon being popped. There's bigger issues than dancing. Some survivors of Grenfell are still living in hotels. 4.5 million British kids are living in poverty, and people are still bitterly divided about Brexit. I mean, did you see the People's March?
As the crowds shuffled their way towards Westminster, it became clear that this was one of the biggest marches of recent years.
No Brexit! No racism! No Brexit!
We just can't ignore this. This is what the people want.
I had no idea that after 2 years we would have got nowhere.
She's right. We're nowhere. It was the biggest demonstration since the Iraq War, and what did the government do? They completely ignored it. It's the biggest political decision of our lifetime, and this is what our leader is saying.
I have always said, no deal is better than a bad deal.
I'll say this now. Theresa May doesn't have the skills to get a good deal. Do you know who we need? Ant and Dec. Likeable, charismatic. I'm serious. Think of all the people they've convinced to eat crocodile balls. They could get a deal. Ant would be amazing in Europe. A, he's not busy, and B, he's used to driving on the wrong side of the road. I'm just saying. Cat knows what he's doing. Now, talking of car crash celebrities, did you hear, because of course he did you hear about this? Kanye West says he's quitting politics. And what's remarkable about that, he was never in it. What next? He's retiring from dressage? He's no longer building conservatories? I'm getting out of the roofing game, it's getting crazy. You can't quit something you never did. That's like me going, I officially retire from Little Mix. Let's be honest, Kanye's going to be a big loss. He's been so wise down the years.
I have decided in 2020 to run for president.
When I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman. I got liposuction.
I just told you who I thought I was, a god.
I am Shakespeare in the flesh.
Beauty's important, and it's illegal to be naked.
It's illegal to be naked? If you want to tell your wife, that makes her one of the most wanted criminals in the world. Now, moving away from politics, there's been a major step forward for medical marijuana.
Specialist doctors in the UK can now prescribe medicinal cannabis to some patients for the first time.
The change in the law came in response to a campaign on behalf of severely epileptic children.
This is brilliant news. So, what angle did the Daily Mail go for? What do you think? Medical cannabis products will drive patients to addiction and crime! If only something existed that could chill them out. I genuinely heard someone say the other day, hospitals will now be full of drugs! And you're like, what do you think morphine is? Magic? So, for all the morons getting in a flat, one, the new guidelines mean medical cannabis is only available to a depressingly small amount of patients, and two, it doesn't get you high. It's got low THC. It's not squidgy black. We aren't going to have hash hospitals. We aren't going to have doctors like that. I'm afraid it's bad news. You came in for a verruca, but we gave you a boob job. We're not going to have nurses there going, if the world's spinning, why am I not dizzy? This is a great thing. There's loads of scientific evidence that shows medical marijuana helps with epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, chemotherapy, chronic pain, insomnia, anxiety, spasticity, cystitis, nausea, weight loss, glaucoma, PTSD, irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, depression, HIV/AIDS and rheumatoid arthritis. And let's not forget the ones I couldn't pronounce. Cannabis doesn't drive you to crime. My mum tried it last year. Did it make her a hardened criminal? No. She just forgot how to talk.
Marijuana. Marijuana. Marijuana.
And, I know, it's amazing, right? That was before she tried it.
Marijuana.
So the best thing about that, we were meant to film it that far, right? So you'd see your body like that, and my mum was like,
marijuana.
Join me after the break when I'll be talking to a woman who spent years on the front line investigating ISIS. Welcome back to the show. Now, we need to talk about a silent killer that takes hundreds of thousands of lives every year. Embarrassment. We don't go to the doctors because we're ashamed of our bodies, and it's got to stop. I read something the other day that absolutely broke me. Over a third of young women are embarrassed to attend smear tests because of the appearance of their vulva and concerns over smells. That is heartbreaking. Ladies, don't ever, ever be ashamed of your bits. Without a smear test, you could die. There is no perfect vagina. They're all different. And even if they do smell, which I doubt they do, doctors aren't going to judge you. They're not going to approach you with a canary. Fucking hell, Dave, it smells like bin juice. They're good people. They're not club reps. Do you know how amazing doctors are? They're bored of genitals. They see so many dicks and fannies, they're not fussed. I know. I speak as a man who goes out with a doctor. The stuff I have to do to my lad to get it noticed. We're talking glitter, tinsel. At the weekend, it looks like RuPaul. It's not just women. Every 45 minutes, a man in this country dies from prostate cancer. Everyone watching this has ignored something because it scared them. So here's what I want to do. I want to tell my most embarrassing story ever. Hopefully, it inspires somebody to go to the doctors. Here we go. Now, a few years ago, I had a thing that can be only described as anal issues. By which I mean there was blood coming out of my bum. Already it's tense. Can you feel that? We can't talk about blood in this country. It's 2018 and we still have tampon ads with blue liquid. Women don't leak antifreeze. Once a month you're not like, ooh, slash pappy. It's blood. It's not blue wicked, so like I say, blood was coming out of my bum. So I did what every man would do. I went, right, I'll play FIFA for 6 months. So I'll grow a new one, was terrified. I kept it internal. Eventually, I went to the doctors, and it was scary. I mean, the size of this man's hands. Also, you forget how to talk. I couldn't say bum or arse. I turned into a Victorian gent, do you know what I mean? Rather than saying something wrong my arse, I genuinely went, there's trouble at the mill. So he was like, well, take your trousers off. So I did, and then he went, by the bed. So I waddled over, and I waited. In went the finger. Not the best thing, not the worst. I said, what is it, doctor? And he went, you've got a thing called anal fissures. What's that, I said. Do you know what it is? I had cuts inside my anus because it turns out while I've been sleeping, I've been putting my finger up my own arse. How do you know, Ross? I'll tell you how I know. I went to a sleep expert, and whilst I was asleep, they filmed me doing it. I don't know if you've ever seen footage of a sleeping you sexually abuse a sleeping you. No wonder my eyes are wonky. What I'm trying to say, there is something worse than sleepwalking. What dreams was I having? But that was the approach. Look, a dragon! All these years I thought I was an insomniac. No, it was just my arse trying to just go, keep him away! The point I'm making, it does not get more embarrassing than that. But I'm alive. I'm the boy that lived. The doctor gave me some tablets, and now, just to be safe, I sleep wearing gloves. But I learnt a lesson. No matter how worried you are, go and see a doctor, because the number of people who don't is staggering. There are over 2 million people walking around Britain with something serious and undiagnosed. 1 million people have emphysema and don't know it. 80,000 have lung cancer and don't know it. Over 500,000 people have heart disease and don't know it. With breast cancer, if you have an early diagnosis, you have a 90% chance of surviving for at least 5 years. If you have a late diagnosis, it's 15%. We're not going to the doctors because we're embarrassed about our bodies. So where do we go? The internet. A place where we go for porn and trivia. The internet isn't for your health. To quote my brother, it's for quizzing and jizzing. And some of us don't even go online. We store the fear deep, deep inside. Talking to my brother, he's got epilepsy. He had a fit when he was 18. He woke up, we found him, he was in his room, he was blue, it was horrible. We rushed him to the hospital, and 2 days later when he got out, he came into my room, it was about 11 at night, he went, you all right, Russ? Do you mind if I'll sleep with you? I was like, sure. He slept with me for a year. I was 21, he was 18. I only remembered this the other day. He used to sleep on me. And I was like, why did you do that? He's like, well, you know, sort of, if I had a fit, I knew I'd wake you up. But he never said anything. Can you imagine living with that and being too embarrassed to speak about it? I said to my brother the other day, I was like, so what did you do to stop? Did you just get over it? And he's like, nah, looked over one morning, you was fingering your own arsehole. You were really going at yourself, Russ. I made my peace with my maker that day. What I'm trying to say is going to the doctors is embarrassing, it is scary, but you've got to go because we all smell. We're all different shapes and sizes. The NHS is one of the greatest things in the world and you've got to use it. It's better to be red-faced than blue. Now, who wants to shake my hand? Now, last series, I went around the world speaking to children about life's big issues, and it was so much fun. I did it again. This week, we had a lovely chat about spying.
Do you know how many times you are caught on camera by the government every day?
No, 6,000 exillion, jillion, million.
It's a good guess. The answer's 70. Is it okay for the government to spy on people?
No. No. Well, what if they want privacy?
So do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
Bad idea.
Why's that?
Just in case you want to write in your diary and the Prime Minister sees your diary.
That's true.
If I could have walked to my secret layer, just imagine, and then is he looking at you?
Yeah.
I will feel quite embarrassed, and he will definitely put me in jail.
What are you doing in this secret layer?
Playing.
Do you think you'd make a good spy?
Yeah.
I spy with my little eye.
I spy him when he's playing outside.
And what have you noticed about him?
He's always looking around.
For you, probably.
Kill gadgets in the head.
In your head? Well, what are these gadgets?
We've got the Invisibilator.
What's the Invisibilator?
Well, it's a scan where you scan yourself, then you can turn it invisible, but only digital invisible. So you're really there, but only people are seeing illusions which are digital.
Fantastic.
Can I go back to reading?
Yes, of course you can. Any questions, Mustafa?
No.
Lovely. Do you know who James Bond is?
A spy?
He's a spy. Our #1 spy is called James Bond. But he tells everyone what his name is.
My name is Adrian.
It's Adrian.
No, Adrian Minto. No.
Adrian Minto.
No. My name is Philip.
Philip. Philip Mojito. That is a great name.
Minto.
And would you have any gadgets?
Yes, a taser.
What noise do you think Donald Trump would make if you tasered him?
Fart.
So I'm going to be a villain. I need an animal to stroke. What would I stroke?
Leopard.
A leopard.
A tiger.
A tiger. But what's my evil villain name that strikes fear into the world?
C-word.
C-word. I know what it means. Oh, it means I live in the sea.
Yeah.
Oh, Sea World. Oh, Christ. Yeah. Yeah, Sea World. Yeah. I'm Mr. Sea World.
Now it's time for my special guest. She's an award-winning journalist, star of the hit podcast Caliphate, and she's quite possibly one of the bravest women on the planet.
ISIS is the latest incarnation of a war we have been fighting now for nearly 2 decades.
This is clearly a case of good versus evil.
We will continue to hunt down terrorists and dismantle their networks.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. It's true.
Despite the billions of dollars we have spent, despite the thousands of lives that have been lost, there are more terrorists now than there were on the eve of September 11th. I am trying to answer one question. Who are they?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rukmini Callimachi. There you go. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Now, you have a podcast called Caliphate, which
Yes.
I greatly enjoyed.
Yes.
Can you explain to the viewers what it is?
So I covered the Islamic State for the New York Times.
Mhm.
And this podcast is my attempt to explain to the world what I have learned about this terrorist group. I do it through the vehicle of a young man named Huzaifa, a Canadian, who joined ISIS, allegedly committed crimes for them, and returned to Canada. Through a source of mine, I was able to find his Instagram account.
Yeah.
Through that, we were able to deduce his real name. Through his real name, we found his LinkedIn, and we found his email address.
Yeah.
And I sent him an email,
Mhm.
and to my true surprise, he wrote back and said that he was willing to be interviewed. And through his story, we learn about this group and the pull of this group, and we try to understand what motivates people like him.
Why do you think social media is so important?
You know, I came across an old Al-Qaeda training manual. And that training manual talked about how the recruiter should go and hang out at the mosque. See who is kind of lagging behind, who doesn't have any friends, try to become friends with them. So basically recruitment was a physical act that involved an actual physical connection with a person.
Yeah.
What the internet has done is, just as Tinder has completely revolutionized dating,
Yeah.
so too, Instagram and Twitter and Tumblr and all of these other engines that they use have made it so that recruiters can use nothing more than a Wi-Fi signal to be able to reach into people's living rooms and pick up somebody like Huzaifa. Huzaifa had never met an actual member of ISIS until he reached the Islamic State in Syria.
It strikes me that they're not dissimilar to kind of people that follow the Kardashians. like in the vulnerable people
Yes.
who are looking for a better life.
That's right.
And these kind of false idols suggest them.
That's right. Of all of the ISIS members that I've profiled and that I've spoken to, there's always the sense that they somehow didn't find their place in life.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this is kind of like, you know, this is an experience of almost all of us go through a phase where we're trying to figure out what our identity is.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
particularly when you're young.
When you're young,
yeah. Surely there has to be a better way of trying to stop terror rather than just bombing the shit out of them. Maybe it does make sense to kind of really hit Instagram and Snapchat hard.
The government, at least in America, has tried to do this, but they've done it in such a flat-footed way that it really hasn't worked. And I think that's a reflection of the fact that ISIS is an organization that is run by millennials.
Yeah.
And the FBI is not, you know?
Right.
And the CIA is not. You move up in rank, typically after a decade or more of service, and so you end up being in your late 30s, 40s, 50s when you end up being a special agent in charge of these efforts. And just as my mom is not on Twitter, so too many of the people in government that are talking about this are not digital natives.
So we need millennials to go on Instagram to stop it. I've got quite a few cousins that are out of work at the minute. And they would be amazing. Seriously, me? You don't want to join ISIS? Come around my way? And you've been trolled by ISIS as well, I understand.
I have been trolled by them.
What is that like? As far as being trolled by anyone, I can't think of anyone more terrifying than ISIS.
So the threats I've gotten, you know, range from the usual, you know, we should slaughter her and teach all journalists a lesson, the typical, you know, let's kill her.
The typical?
Well,
how blasé you are. You know, I get the usual, they're going to kill me, but, you know.
Of course, that does, you know, work on my psyche once in a while, and I have found myself feeling very scared.
Yeah.
But I also know that the reason they're doing this is to scare me.
Yes.
And so a way to resist them is to not be scared, right? But then they are millennials. They're very young, and some of them are teenagers.
Yeah.
And so some of the trolling I've gotten from them is just super personal, super juvenile.
Yeah.
For example, I think that they picked up that I'm sensitive about my weight.
Right.
So there's this one particular ISIS troll that has taken to calling me oink meanie, like a pig, fat machi, to basically fat shame me, I guess.
Yeah. And are you tempted to just write back, goat fucker? This is where you need my cousins. When were you most scared?
There was a period of time starting in 2015, the FBI began to come at regular intervals to my office to see myself and my editors to warn us of what they considered to be real threats against me. They told me that they had alerted the precinct captain to that area, and that if I ever felt ill at ease, I should call 911.
Yeah.
This is a period of time when my husband was working the night shift.
Right.
So our house happens to be old and very creaky. And so starting at 11 p.m., I was home alone, and he was gone until 6 a.m. the next day. And at around 12:30 at night, I was getting ready to go to bed, and suddenly our Rhodesian Ridgeback, our dog, started growling. Just, you know, like this. And seconds later, the doorbell started to ring, and it was 12:30 in the morning, and really aggressive ringing. And I really panicked, and I thought to myself, like, what is this, you know? And so I didn't know what to do, but I ended up, I mean, I was thinking to myself, the FBI said call 911. So I called 911 and proceeded to have just this really weird conversation with the lady where I said, hi, I'm Rukmini Callimachi and I cover ISIS for the New York Times, and I've had some threats against me, and the FBI said that I should call you if anything ever happens, and there's somebody ringing my doorbell. And I'll never forget the tone of the lady who said, ma'am, do you think ISIS is ringing your doorbell?
Yeah.
And I realized how insane it was, that I had called her. She was nice enough to say, I'm going to call you back. Like, stay where you are, I'm going to call you back.
Yeah.
And she called me back 5 minutes later. It felt like forever. you
Yeah.
know. And I had peeked out from under, from the bedroom, and I could see a shadow of somebody, outside. And she called me back 5 minutes later, and she said, ma'am, there's been a water main break on your street.
Yeah.
And it's the water department that is going door to door to let you know that there might be flooding. And that was the moment when I realized they'd gotten into my head. But yeah.
One of the things that, I don't know if you're famous for this, but one of your tricks is you go through ISIS's bins.
Yeah. I started doing this actually in Africa when I was covering Al-Qaeda in Mali. And I did it, in fact, completely by mistake. You guys know that Timbuktu is a real place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. When we got to Timbuktu, the locals led me to the buildings that Al-Qaeda had occupied. They had basically just fled, sort of in the days before.
Yeah.
And they didn't have time to destroy or pack up the stuff that they had left behind.
Yeah.
And I found thousands of pages of the records. And that was actually the beginning of this beat for me, because in those records was a completely different narrative about this group than I was getting from the officials I was calling in Washington. Of course.
Have you ever found anything really strange in one of their bins that's just like, whoa?
One of the pieces of paper that I found in that stash was a letter from Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
Reprimanding a guy called Mokhtar Belmokhtar, who was a very famous terrorist in Africa,
Yeah.
for a host of offenses, among them not turning in his expense reports on time.
Really?
This is
Al-Qaeda expenses?
Al-Qaeda expenses,
Wow.
expects its fighters to turn in expense reports to justify cash advances. They need to track their resources.
Yeah, right.
And just as I am going to go back to my hotel tonight and put in my expenses for what I'm doing so that I can justify my cash advance, so too they have to.
But I doubt yours is Semtex. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
So we hear your president talking a lot about how, he's winning, he's defeating ISIS. How do you assess Trump's attitude?
Politicians come and go, and all of them at some point do the mission accomplished.
Right.
No politician can get to the end of their term and look as if they've been weak on terror, and look as if terror has somehow gotten out of hand.
Yeah.
Now, as it happens, Trump does have some successes to point to, which is the territorial defeat of the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. So we've conflated two things, ISIS and the territory holding aspect of it, and ISIS, the terrorist group. ISIS, the terrorist group, remains alive and strong.
Yeah.
It's continuing to try to attack the West. Thankfully, law enforcement is getting wise to their ways and has been foiling these attacks, but by no means are they defeated.
Yeah.
On the eve of 9/11, there were just a few hundred Al-Qaeda members all over the world. Just
Really?
a few hundred,
Okay.
Just in Iraq and Syria today, the United Nations and the Pentagon Inspector General estimate that there are at least 30,000 ISIS fighters just in Iraq and Syria.
Right. I think one of the ways that I think we can defeat ISIS is through human connection.
Yes.
Because there was something that I listened to, that one of the members of ISIS was a huge fan of a singer that you wouldn't ordinarily think members of ISIS would be a fan of.
George Michael?
George Michael.
That's right.
The idea that there is a Muslim member of ISIS singing "Last Christmas," but the very fact that they're into George Michael, like, there feels like there's human connection there.
Completely.
Do you know what I mean? That
Completely.
you can win over.
Yeah. But you talk about human connection.
Yeah.
And I think one of the ways that ISIS thrives is they're trying to eliminate the gray space.
Yeah.
And the gray space is the areas of the world where moderate Muslims are able to live in harmony with other people.
Yeah.
They want to create this complete cleavage where there's Islam on one side and every other religion on the other. And so what is happening in the world right now, where Muslims are being attacked, where girls wearing the hijab are having their hijabs yanked off, all of that helps ISIS.
Yeah.
It helps them. It makes moderate Muslims, who are not the enemy, feel as if they are targeted.
Yeah.
So when we talk about human connection, I think that's something that all of us can do, is to make sure that our Muslim neighbors feel at home and
Makes
feel
sense.
welcomed.
What a remarkable person you are. It's lovely to meet you. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the wonderful Rukmini Callimachi. That was really great. Join me after the break when me and Greg Davies will be in our underwear getting drunk. This is a new part of the show called Live Forever. Now, I am terrified of dying. So every week, this is the plan. Me and some of the best comedians in the country are going to try something weird and wonderful that may, hopefully, help us live forever. This week, me and Greg Davies tried out the Finnish tradition of Kallasarikani.
That's all right, then. Who's this dude?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Miss Karantanen. Greetings from Helsinki. Finland is the happiest country in the world, and to keep us well in the cold and dark winter months, we have a philosophy called Kalsarikänni. I've written a book on it. Translated it to English, it's called Päntsdrunk. Päntsdrunk is about getting drunk at home, in your underwear, with no intention to go out. With you are all the things you need to have a great night in. By the end, you should be feeling all the better for it. Enjoy.
Okay.
Well, I like that gesture at the end.
The first thing that strikes me about Karasadakali is, I mean, I've been doing it my whole adult life.
Yeah, it feels very Indian. It doesn't feel a Finnish thing to get pissed in your underwear on your own and then not go out.
Yeah, it'd be the equivalent of me doing a book in this country called Going to the Pub to Get Shit Faced.
Yeah, exactly. Here he is.
Here he comes.
Relaxing Päntsdrunk activities can include singing, belching, game playing, flatulating, leisurely masturbating, or even screaming into a pillow.
I think you do all of those things. That's how Bjork writes her album.
She's not finished. Is she finished?
I don't even know if she's finished.
She does anyway.
Yeah!
Just, that makes such sense with Bjork.
Yeah.
Because just when you get into a song of Bjork's, every now and again she'll start screaming.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's obviously the point of climax, just before she farts.
To receive the health benefits of a relaxing evening in, first you must change into something more comfortable.
Right, we got to get dressed. Cool.
I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I'm already 30% happier than I was when I came in.
Yeah.
To lubricate your evening, please enjoy some Finnish drinks and snacks. But don't get too wasted now.
I'm drawn to that.
This one?
Yeah.
This does feel like it could be the beginning of a... Let's not fuck around. A pretty successful blue movie. Do you know what I mean? You've never seen The Goonies?
No, and I've had lots of people say I look like that monster.
I had a 3-curry weekend last weekend.
Go on.
I had 3 curries.
Crap! Holy shit, Hawking just sparked out. Read. Can I interest you in some plop?
Yes, please. Not for the first time. I'm going to slip some plop in my mouth.
Exactly. Not for the first time. I'm going to watch you slip some plop in your mouth.
Plop's delicious.
I mean, the idea that this is some sort of cultural experiment is absolutely ridiculous.
Spunk?
Well, if you can have some plop in your mouth, you may as well follow it with some spunk. In for a penny.
In for some spunk. Have you ever been to Finland?
Never.
I have.
And?
It was absolutely brilliant.
Right.
Did a gig there. Do you know what I saw just before I went on stage?
I don't.
A man catch a seagull with his hands.
In order to punish it?
Yeah, and he shouted, "Hey!" like that, and then threw it away because the seagull was trying to eat his chips.
How drunk are you now?
A little bit drunk, yeah. Do you know what I've just noticed? We're hairy in very similar areas.
You think?
Yeah, because I think neither of us is crazy hairy.
No.
But there's enough to suggest that we're men.
See what I mean? Yeah, I'm quite happy. You're trimming, though.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Oh! It's lighting fuck!
That is absolutely disgusting. No, we have to get rid of this one.
I'm not really much of a cuddler.
What?
No.
Oh.
Normally, if someone gets this close to me,
bam,
you get
You're in.
fucked. Are you afraid of dying?
I'm obsessed with. I wouldn't say I'll just pop this crisp in my mouth before I answer you. I wouldn't say I'm afraid of dying because there's an inevitability to that I can deal with.
Yeah.
But I am obsessed with it.
Do you believe in the afterlife? I don't believe in the afterlife, but I wish there were one.
So do I.
That's the way. That's my vibe. I'm not a happy atheist. I don't understand how atheists can be so joyful. They're like, yeah, there is nothing. We win. We lose everything.
I can't believe how anyone can say they're a pure atheist. I don't see how you can say you're anything but agnostic.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much that we don't understand. You know, we could be in the teardrop of a giant for all we know.
Yeah.
You don't make the horn noise. I mean, this is a calendar shot, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you son of a...
Just come here and have a hug.
That's the thing.
Hello again. I hope you have enjoyed this little slice of Finnish life and you are now feeling super relaxed.
So, has Päntsdrunk, has it worked for you?
Yes, but if I'd done what I've done with you today, alone, I would be genuinely worried about myself.
What this has taught us is that one of the aspects of happiness is friendship.
Friendship. But I think it was enhanced by the fact that we have taken our clothes off. I do think that much I would concede.
Do you think it's going to make us live longer?
No, I mean quite the reverse.
But it's going to make the time that we had on Earth seem more fun. I can barely string a sentence together at the minute.
Yeah. Put some more plop in your mouth.
I don't think there's anyone finer in the world to enjoy putting plop in my mouth with.
Thanks, mate. It's one of the best jobs I've done.
Plop, plop.
Plop, plop.
Plop, plop. I guarantee some of you will be doing some Päntsdrunk tonight. Now, it's time to celebrate the heroes in our country. This week's good deed is a gardener who creates tiny moments of joy.
Hi, I'm Steve, and I'm the pothole gardener. And I create miniature gardens in potholes around the UK. The Pothole Gardener project is all about trying to take something crappy and turn it into something a little bit happier. It's all about making people stop and take a minute and smile. One of my favourite places to go to get plants is New Covent Garden.
So you've got a little tray of mini succulents there, 70 pence each, 30 in a box.
Perfect. So I've probably created around 100 gardens over the past 7 or 8 years. My first garden was really simple, just a few petunias in the pavement. And what was amazing was the crowd of people that came around this tiny little garden and started having a chat.
The gardens are beautiful, they make you feel happy.
No, I never seen anything like that before.
I created gardens around all sorts of themes. For example, Wimbledon, I created a miniature tennis court. Other gardens I've created were around the royal wedding, complete with a little royal car. You know, one of the things I love is listening to the questions that arise, you know, especially from kids, like, hey, Mum, you know, who sits in that little deck chair?
You get to sort of imagine other little worlds.
They don't necessarily last a long time. Sometimes they only last 5 or 10 minutes. But other gardens, you know, have lasted 5 or 6 years.
Whoever took the time to do it, bravo to them. London needs a few more things to make you smile.
What a legend. And also, we were like filming it and the dog came along. We're like, get the fucking dog away. We just thought it was just going to end with him going, that's what I think of that. Night, night. What an absolute legend. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching the show. Goodbye, my friends. Good night. See you later.